Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Norwood Planning Board. Today is January 22nd, 2024, and we're here at the Senior Center and also online. I believe that the time has come to look at our first agenda item, which appears to be a continuance. Should we do that first? Yeah. So the first agenda item is a major project special permit application for 83 Moore Street, the Norwood Space Center. Construction of a multifamily dwelling, and I believe, is Attorney Hearn on, or are we just dealing with a written request?
He did submit a written request, but he's here.
Good evening, Attorney Hearn, are you there?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We filed a request last week to continue this matter to February 26th. We have recently received some additional comments from some of the town departments that we're working on, and we'll be making revisions to the plans. And so based on having received those very recently, we're not ready to go forward right now. And as things turn out, the next meeting, some of our engineers would not be available for us. So we did request in writing that it be continued to the 26th.
Okay, so does that require a vote to continue to the 26th?
It needs to be a roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we continue to February 26th, 2024, here at the Senior Center
7 p.m.
at 7 p.m.
Second? All right, with a motion and a second, all in favor? It's a roll call, so
Rob Amber, aye.
Brian Heskey, aye. Joe Sheehan, aye.
Ernie Petchakowski, aye.
Mrs. Homewood?
You're on mute.
Sorry, Debbie Homewood, aye.
Great. All right, thank you, 5-0. And so Attorney Hearn, to February 26, 2024 at 7 p.m.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. All right. The next agenda item that I think would be appropriate to take now is there's a site plan review for 500 Washington Street, Signorama, Cassandra Skin and Spa, an application for a sign. And the applicant here?
Yes, we're just proposing a replacement sign panel for the existing light box sign that's already on the building.
Sorry, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
My name is Brian from Signorama in Walpole, Massachusetts. Yeah, and then we're just proposing a new sign panel for the existing light box on the building mounted light box.
Okay.
So really just replacing the sign face for one for what's there, obviously just a new business name.
Okay. So Holly submitted a memorandum. Do you care to speak for the department, or is there anything really to say?
This requires no relief. It's not an expansion of what's there. It's a refacing of the existing sign. I would just recommend that the applicant perhaps make sure that the client's aware, or you may wish to mention it in your decision, the provision about window coverings. So you can have signs or stickers, decals on the windows, but it can't exceed 30% of the area of the windows.
All right.
I know we've had some trouble now at that location with tenants doing that, so
All right.
Just something to pass
Yeah,
along
keep
to
in
your
mind.
client.
Yeah, all right.
But as proposed, this requires no additional relief.
All right, with that, does anybody have any questions or concerns, or by chance, their motion? Motion to approve. Okay.
What about Debbie?
Oh, Debbie? Debbie. I didn't see you, Debbie, I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
No questions.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion to approve. All in favor? It's going to be a roll call. Rob?
Rob Amber, aye.
Brian Heskey, aye. Joe Sheehan, aye.
Ernie Petchakowski, aye.
Debbie Homewood, aye.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good one.
Okay. So the next agenda item up today is major project special permit, property at Carnegie Row, Block 15, map 11, lots 22 and 42. The applicant is David Spiegel. This is a renewable major project special permit approved in December 3, 2012 regarding automobile storage. Bring out me.
Mr. Chair, good evening.
Good
Members
evening.
of the board, Brian Peter for the applicant. Along with
sorry?
me is,
Read this into
I'm
the
sorry,
record.
do we have to reread that into the, my apologies. Does anybody have it ready to go?
I can read it if you want.
Thank you.
You got it, Chuck?
Yep.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Public hearing notice, Norwood Planning Board. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Board of the Town of Norwood will hold a public hearing on January 22nd, 2024 at 7 PM on the request of David Spiegel with respect to property located at Carnegie Row, map 15, block 11, lots 22 and 43, Norwood, Mass. 02062, in the Boston Providence Highway zoning district. The hearing will be held at Norwood Senior Center, 275 Prospect Street, Norwood, Mass. 02062, as well as by remote participation. The applicant requests to renew a major project special permit originally approved 12/3/2012, 11/9/15, 12/18/17, 12/2/19, and 8/20/21 for open lot storage of 218 vehicles. Any zoning relief that may be required in adherence to the Norwood zoning bylaw shall be considered by the board. Interested persons are encouraged to attend the hearing and make their views known to the board. Plans are on file with the application in the office of the planning board and may be requested by emailing comdev@norwoodma.gov or by calling 781-762-1240, extension 6055, Monday through Friday, 8 AM to 4 PM. And this was posted by Holly Jones, Assistant Director, Community Development.
Great, thank you.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Sheen, for the reading of the notice. Myself and Matt Smith of Norwood Engineering are here to address any concerns that the board has, particularly Mr. Smith is here in the event that the board had any questions about the plans, although the plans have been, in one form or another, reviewed by the board several times in the past, as Mr. Sheen's reading of the notice indicated. Once again, the applicant is here seeking a renewal of a special permit. I did have the opportunity to read the planning department's memorandum with respect to the application. We're certainly open to having this made to be a permanent special permit as would sort of be customary with respect to the bylaws now, as opposed to their status in 2012. However, I spoke with Mr. Spiegel. His intention still is for this to be a temporary use of the property. He doesn't intend for this to be the final use of it. In his view, the economic conditions with respect to using the lot for something else just currently aren't there, but it's still his intention to do something else with it other than the auto storage has been there for the last essentially decade plus.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll start by asking if any members of the board have any questions or thoughts, or any.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple things. Where are the cars being unloaded for that lot? Do they pull inside or do they unload on the street?
It's on the street, Mr. Peczkowski. I spoke to Mr. Spiegel about this because I saw that recommendation in the memo. And in our view, it's just sort of infeasible to have the tractor trailer pull into the lot and unload the cars there. And Mr. Spiegel contends that it's been done that way for the last 12 years or so without incident, and it would need to be that way. And particularly because this lot isn't really adjacent to the Route 1 right-of-way, it can be done, we think, in a way that's safe and doesn't really.
I mean, as far as the permit, I've been on the board since this started, and just my own opinion, and I don't want to throw cold water on everything here, but this has been 12 years, and it's always been every year, or first it was every 2 years, then it was every year to re-up this, and temporary becomes permanent after a while, and my own opinion is that we put a final date on this. Now, I'm not saying tomorrow, I'm gonna give you possibly up to a year to relocate the cars, but I think, next fall would be ideal. Obviously now, not the best time to do it, but my own opinion is that we finalize this and we end it. 12 years is a long time. We've been hearing, the conditions aren't, well, yes and no. I think that I've heard from some of the neighbors down there, and my own opinion is that it's time's run its course on this temporary, storage. So I would be in favor of giving you a little bit of time to move the cars, but a final date, and that's the end of it. And we move on. We either sell the property, build something else, leave it. I don't know, but I'm not in favor of these extensions going forward. Thank you.
Would there be any interest in it, and I certainly understand not wanting to continue in these 2 to 3 year blocks. Conversely, is there an interest in potentially looking at it as a non-continually needing to be renewed special permit, sort of as a general matter?
I would have to really look hard at that. At this point, I don't see that. I don't think that's what we're wanting for down there. I think we want to see some activity. I think we want to see life. I don't think that's what we want in that development, but that's just my opinion.
And I certainly respect that, given that 2012 I was a college student, so it's been a while. But I do think that one other factor is that to some extent the board has found that it does meet the special permit criteria 5 previous times. So but again,
Mr. Chair.
Comments? All right, Debbie?
I also been on the board doing this for 12 years, and I just don't, years ago, we had 2 grants to get some activity going in the Vanderbilt area, at least 2 that I can remember, and we were trying to revitalize that, and I think, I get that things occurred down there with parking. How many cars are currently on the lot? I know we said there's allowed 218, but how many are down there?
I don't know the exact number, Ms. Homewood, but it's well below that capacity.
Hey, Debbie,
Yeah.
Google Maps right now shows 14 vehicles.
Yeah, I was there 2 weeks ago and there wasn't a,
I'd say on average, there's double digits at best there.
okay, so, again, it doesn't, the proposed use doesn't support the bylaw, and, the 8 criteria, which I won't bore you all with, but I agree with Ernie, I don't want him to get them out of here next week, but we were trying to revitalize Vanderbilt, and parking cars in it doesn't give us money, doesn't give us tax dollars, doesn't give us the 8 criteria. Sorry, I'm reading my own notes. And we won't even go into the landscaping, so.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. Joe, did you have a concern?
I just had a question. They weren't supposed to be unloading the cars on the street. Has that been a problem at all? I guess if you don't have too many cars, I don't know if that happens too often. So I didn't know if that was a problem. I was under the impression it might be.
So I wasn't aware that it was a problem until I saw it on the planning department's memo as a recommendation to be made that the unloading not happen on the street. I then called Mr. Spiegel and asked him about that, and he indicated that they've always been unloaded on the street. But I agree with you that if the lot's being used for dozens rather than 218 cars, and there's not very much unloading going on wherever it's happening. But I'm told that it's just not feasible to have the tractor trailer go into the lot itself to unload the cars.
Is there any other type of business down there? Are these just cars, or is there anything else going on?
I think it's just currently the cars. The intention was to have a building down there that would support, the underlying business, but again, it hasn't come to pass for a variety of reasons that, again, we've sort of discussed over the last decade or so.
Tractor trailer for a car.
Okay.
Robert, Derek?
I'm in agreement. Ernie, Debbie, I'm in agreement that it's. I think I've extended it twice, if I can recall, recently. But it was kind of with the idea that we would find a better use of the property, and I don't want to see anyone running cars down the street in the middle of the night trying to hurry this out of here, but a reasonable time frame to end it would be my recommendation.
Derek, any thoughts?
I agree.
Yeah, for my part, I came on the board as an associate in early 2019, and I think by early 2020 I was a voting member. This was was an issue then. It was the big debate as to whether or not it should have been extended on a temporary basis back in 2019. I also have a reason to be across the street from that lot almost 3 times a week. And I've seen trucks parked out the front. For when they do the unloading, there's the big, tractor trailer. As far as the special permit criterion, if this were an up or down vote, I think it was Debbie said she didn't want to go through the points, but I'll just at least name them. Number 1, social, economic, or community needs, criterion 1. Circulation of traffic, utilities and public services, environmental impacts, land use compatibility, visual compatibility, and fiscal impacts to the town. I'm not sure that this particular use of the property meets those criteria. So on an up or down vote on a special permit, I can't say that I would be supportive. I'm with Ernie that certainly we don't want to clip the use, and I would consider it appropriate to grant an extension. It was suggested a year maybe, to allow for alternate proposals to come forth. But anybody else, or are we okay?
Can I make
Sarah?
a suggestion? For a special permit, especially on use, it is actually very helpful for the board to elaborate on those special permit criteria.
Okay.
Because those become findings that support whatever decision you make. So
Well-
I would actually encourage you all to kind of go through those, and if there are particular thoughts you have, findings on any of them, it would be helpful to make sure that that's part of the record.
Well, I think it's been discussed at length, but I'm sure, Debbie, you there? The first one, social, economic, and community needs. I'm not sure that anybody's really claiming that Norwood is needing necessarily any more open lot automobile storage, particularly in a location such as Vanderbilt, where there's opportunity for other more vibrant and productive, development uses. Any comments on any of these? I can hand out the list, but circulation of traffic, I'm not sure that there's really an effect here or there with that, apart from this whole issue with the trucks. Utilities and other public services.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Is this paved, or is this dirt? Is there drainage? Is there any sort of infrastructure for any?
Mr. Hatchie answered the question with respect to the surface as being dirt.
I believe it's dirt. I've never been in it, but you can see it through the fence, mind you.
And
Yeah.
I don't know about the drainage with respect to
Yeah.
the.
So I think that wouldn't really meet our utility.
Yeah,
or
here.
Environmental impacts. I think we've gone through this ad nauseum with auto storage, impermeable surfaces, heat sink effects, you name it, there's a whole list. Visual compatibility, well, that's,
Well, these two. So land use compatibility and visual compatibility, the entirety of that Vanderbilt development is commercial, office, some industrial with the food factory down there. But open lot automobile storage, I don't believe is necessarily compatible. And visual compatibility, much was made about that fence. Debbie, do you remember that? I think you were a big proponent of that fence being not see-through. So, I don't know, those are my thoughts.
And fought for the trees for, I think, about 5.5 years, 6 years.
Yeah. So,
Fiscal impacts, there's no building,
it's no real taxable.
it's not really
Yeah.
built out, so there's no real gain in taxes on the property.
Up to the public. Yes, is there anybody here? Sure. Do you mind stating your name and address?
Okay, my name's Cheryl Doyle. I'm gonna do taxpayer first.
Okay.
So as a taxpayer in this town, we just had 11% tax hike on our taxes, and it's impacting the town as a whole. And I know they keep saying, oh, the economy's not good, yet this same developer built the Enterprise down by Savers, built another building behind the trampoline park, and also built the Taco Bell building, all during this time frame. If we put if he would put a building on it, instead of paying about $15,000 on one lot and $13,000 on the other lot for taxes, we would get more money towards our tax base. It'd also be taxed on the personal property. It would go to the electric, it would go to the water and the sewer. And with all this, we could get more teachers in our school. We could hire more police. We can hire more fire department. There's a lot we could do with that extra taxation, because we keep saying Norwood doesn't have any open land, yet that lot has been sitting there for the entire time, the entire history of that park. So there's that.
Cheryl, do you mind if I interrupt and ask your address for the record, please?
12 Sumner.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna switch over. As a property manager in that park, I manage 6 buildings. One of the buildings is by that lot. There are children in that building, there's a lot of walkers in that park, and a lot of times there are 3 of those tractor trailers unloading on Carnegie. And then they'll put the beamers on the street first before they even drive them in the lot. There's a lot of traffic on Carnegie, because Carnegie is one of the main drags to cross over to River Ridge and to get on the Vanderbilt. And then certain said, landlord was complaining about the meatball dudes parking on Astor and Morgan, so police come along, or whoever, put up all these no parking on Astor, do not park on Morgan. They sent all those tractor trailers down on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt used to not have any tractor trailers at all parking on their roadway, and they will just line up for miles, and now they're blocking other businesses. And this is what happens, everybody parking on the road are blocking other businesses. That is a walking park. There shouldn't be anybody unloading or parking on the roadway. Meatball dudes should be over on Morgan, because that's where their business is on Morgan, not on Vanderbilt Ave. And that lot has more, back to the lot on Carnegie, yes, it has beamers, but it has other vehicles that are stored there. It has boats there. It has campers there. It has a landscaping company with a big old canopy thing that has salt stored in it. There is no drainage on the lot, so all that salt and everything goes into the ground. That whole back area of that park is basically in an area of critical concern, because the back part of it starting behind the meatball dudes and running all the way behind Vanderbilt Ave and that, it's all compensatory storage. All that waterway connects, CarMax and all that. Then our other problem is when they pick up the beamers before they're gonna take them somewhere, Vanderbilt Ave turns into a drag strip. They race up and down, up and down, up and down. We have CarMax doing it, we have Burke Chambers doing it, we have the Volkswagen dealership doing it, and we have the Beamers doing it. It serves absolutely no purpose to have that lot being used like that. Everybody else in that park is paying a lot of taxes, and here we have that sitting almost to the forefront of the park. So I ask you guys, don't even give it a year, give it till fall or spring, give it 6 months. Because what's gonna happen is, if you give it a year, you're right back here in the winter time, they're gonna go, well, we can't move it because it's winter. So, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the,
Yes.
just name and address, sir?
Joe McDonald, 55 Carnegie Row in Norwood. I'm directly across the street. My family chose Norwood years ago, back in the 60s. The town has been fabulous to do business here. And I've never had issues with the town or any of my neighbors at all. And it's become incredibly challenging down in Carnegie Row. It's almost like a perfect storm between, they're unloading the cars and they have to back out and they're doing U-turns in the street. Some of them are facing north or south and they're doing U-turns and they're putting me up at the entrance and they'll open up the entrance. And I'm very concerned about safety and you had a great word, vibrant businesses. And every business is vibrant, car business, all of ours. But we have a lot of children at dance school in my building. And there's the gymnastic academy next door. I'm really worried about the safety. There's a martial arts school right next door. And I don't want to get into the horror stories with what some of the drivers have done, but it's been really challenging. And I'm pro-business, pro-Norwood, we've been on the auto mile since the 60s on Route 1. We've rented buildings, and it's been fantastic between the, as you would say, the meatball dudes and the car carriers. It's unbelievable right now. I'm having to call the police all the time. They've been fabulous. They've been very helpful. But I'm trying to run a vibrant business with retail stores. I run a flooring company, and we have showroom. We have a lot of elderly that come in, and it's so dangerous out in that street between some of the car companies. They use Carnegie Row as a test drive. They've landed up on my lawn before. It's really challenging. So, and the location of the gate is almost like where the karate. So where they load the cars in through that gate, they're loading them out in the street. Is that martial arts store, shop, and they have the gymnastics academy, and there's families and young kids and the dance schools. I am scared to death of safety is really important. I have a family, I'm sure we all have families, and it's a big concern. And I've been very quiet about it. I haven't bothered anybody, and it's rough.
Is there anybody else here, anybody online that's here to comment? All right. So, Sarah, I didn't ask if the department has anything to say, or not necessarily? No?
No, it's not.
All right. So the request before the board is to extend the permit for another 2 years, I believe, right? Is that? So
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I can make one last comment.
Sure.
To the last gentleman's, I think, I am not in favor of extending this a year, because again, I agree with some of the comments that then we're back into the winter season again, and nothing can be done with it. So I think 12 years has been more than generous. I'm not saying tomorrow, but I would like to ask my board to think about a year, we're back.
I would like to recommend 9 months, because they can, gives them plenty of time to get out, and then the weather doesn't turn bad, and,
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, 8 or 9 months. It gets them into the fall.
Is there any motion?
I'll, make a motion.
Hearing.
If we go-
I'm sorry?
We got, it was still in public hearing. You have to
Yeah,
Oh,
close the
public hearing, I'm sorry,
hearing.
gonna move to a close. So, with the, having taken, any further comment, Mr. Almeida?
Just very briefly to say that while I certainly acknowledge the board's concerns and the public's concerns with respect to the lot, the board did at least find originally and 4 times since that it did meet the special permit criteria. And I'd ask that if there is a concern about the winter being a time that would be awkward to remove the cars if the board's considering an extension, I'd ask for 1.5 years to take it out to next summer.
Right, understood. And so there's no further comment? So, we first take a vote to close the public meeting? All right, is there?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, all in favor, roll call?
Rob Amber, aye.
Brian Heskey, aye.
Joe Sheehan, aye.
Ernie Petchakowski, aye.
Mr. Chair, you went out of, what are we voting on? Close the
Close
public
Public
hearing?
hearing.
A vote to close the public hearing.
Okay, I'm getting intermittent with the owl guy. Debbie Homewood, aye.
Okay, so the public hearing having been closed, is there now a motion on the floor?
I have a comment.
Oh, sure.
Can
Rob's
I-
good. No, Rob has a comment.
I'm leaning towards closer to 6 months. I kind of agree with Ms. Doyle's comment that we should probably get this moving.
I'll make a comment.
Sure.
I'm kind of just in favor of Joe's 9 months or even 8 months. That brings you to September of October. That eliminates any, right now, 6 months, you still got, 3 or 4 winter months, 3 winter months ahead. That gives them right through the summer. We're talking 25 cars down there. And as I drive around these car lots, there are plenty of open spaces on dealerships to park these cars because there's not a lot of cars. That being said, I would give them to the, beginning of the fall so we don't have that next winter thing. I disagree with Mr. Almeida on the 1.5 years. I think is just, not in the cards. I would give them through the summer into the fall, maybe 8 months to September 31st.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Debbie?
All due respect, Ernie, I don't want to penalize them. If 9 months we're into September and you go through the whole summer with issues that the neighbors are having, and didn't we say there's 14 cars on there, Derek? Isn't that what you looked at? It's not like he's got to move 218 cars.
Correct.
It's not crowded, and we've kind of done this for 12 years, and if you had 214 cars on it, down at the airport, there's not a lot of cars. I don't think we're being unreasonable, and if I would be in favor of 6 months and would like to ask my board to consider that.
Where does 6 months bring you? I don't have a calendar.
January's the first month plus 6, 7. That's July.
July 22nd would be.
So somebody's got to make a motion to that effect if they're gonna.
Right. So
Perhaps we could do a date certain.
Yeah, date certain. But Debbie, I think Debbie has got to make the motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to include the 8 criteria in our decision, which I don't, if somebody could read it in or whatever, and to extend the permit, am I saying this correctly, Sarah, for a 6-month period ending, let's say August 1, to clean it up, of 2024. Mike?
Is that a motion? So Debbie,
Is that-
I'm sorry, what was the date through which you're proposing?
August 1st.
I'd say
August
July, end of July, July 31st, or there 31 days in the month,
So July 31.
ending July 31st, or,
July 31, right? Okay.
yeah, July 31st.
So that's a motion. Is there a second?
That is my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Take a vote. Roll call. Rob Amber.
Rob Amber, aye.
Brian Heskey, aye.
Joe Sheehan, aye.
Ernie Petchakowski, aye.
What I,
Okay?
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before we,
Yeah, sure.
can I Just unrelated, but sort of related. I'd like to just ask Sarah, or if maybe if you get a chance, talk to Gary about the meatball trucks.
We have been actually,
I thought we made a decision where they were supposed to park down on Route 1 down in Foxborough and be called in.
yep, so I provided a copy of that queuing plan and a copy of that decision to the building department last week.
Okay, thank you.
And they're looking into what their options are for enforcement.
Okay. I think they were supposed to, they had made arrangements with that truck stop down in Foxborough.
Yeah.
And they were gonna call them in as they need them,
So they'll be looking into, enforcement actions that they can take, but also separately, I believe Home Market Foods is going to be approaching the planning board for another application sometime soon. So if they are out of compliance with a condition of a previous permit, that's something that the planning board can discuss, the next time they come before you.
Okay, thank you.
Is-
You're on top of it, beautiful, thank you.
Good, thank you.
I think everything a lot of the complaints that everyone's been discussing seems to be from the trucks and the meatball dude. They were supposed to go elsewhere and then get called
Right,
in,
right.
and that seems to be something that's not happening, so we've discovered the real problem.
Yeah, so the building department, just for members of the public who may be concerned, is the zoning enforcement officer. So if there are zoning violations that anyone notices, whether it's a board member or a member of the public, or even town staff driving around town, Gary Pelletier is the building commissioner, and his office is the appropriate place to contact and request enforcement action.
Thank you, we appreciate it, because the park used to be very safe to walk around, and parents used to push their kids in strollers, and then the health club has a lot of runners and that, and it's like all these tractor trailers all of a sudden just morphed and took over the park, and it was a very, very nice park. People walk their dogs down there, everything, and it isn't safe at all. It's very dangerous now.
But it is still an industrial park, so you are gonna get trucks.
You are, but normally what they do is like on Vanderbilt, they'll pull into a building where they're gonna offload, they go in to the back of the docks, they offload, and they leave the park.
Yeah.
They do not hang around, they leave the park.
Yeah,
And
there was
that's how
one-
it's been done for 30-some years.
I was down there
since
this
I've been
morning,
there.
and there was some building behind Vanderbilt, and they had 3 or 4 trucks queued up to unload. But they were on their property, they were kind of
Yeah,
down on
they
an
get
alley.
on the own property.
There were a couple on the side streets, but,
There's one that's been sitting there all day since 8 o'clock this morning when I just left. It's
Yeah.
still.
They'll idle. Well, if you would've gone in around, I think, 10:30 into the park, there were 8 of them on Carnegie, 5 on Vanderbilt, waiting to get into Whole Foods Market.
yeah. And
That's what
again,
they were
we'll
waiting
check, Sarah's ahead of the game. Apparently they're looking into try to some
Well, I
kind of
didn't
solution.
even realize that, so thank you, we do appreciate it, because they block the businesses. They're blocked, because you can't see any of the buildings, and Vanderbilt's a very, very long street.
It does go on forever.
Yeah, so, but we appreciate it.
Of course.
Good.
All right, thank you. So the last agenda item this evening is approval of the minutes from the January 8, 2024 planning board meeting. I'm hoping everybody got a
Make a
chance.
motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
All right, motion is second, roll call vote, Rob?
Rob Amber, aye.
Brian Heskey, aye.
Joe Sheehan, aye.
Ernie Petchakowski, aye.
Debbie Homewood, aye.
Great. Anything else?
I do have one other item of business. The Board of Selectmen have requested that I attend their meeting tomorrow evening on behalf of the planning board to answer questions and give a brief presentation on the MBTA Communities article that has been submitted for the special town meeting warrant in March. So I will be there tomorrow evening at 7:15 if any members of the board wish to come. And again, represent the board. I encourage you to.
You know I'll
do
be
so.
there.
7:15? In person, okay.
Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Motion and a second.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Rob?
Rob Bamber, aye.
Brian Heskey, aye. Joe Sheehan? Aye.
Ernie Petchakowski, aye.
Debbie Homewood, aye.
Great.
Thanks.
Good night, all.
Thank you all. Be well.